Welcome back to another episode of Level Up, episode 220, where we help you build and grow your dream practice and live your dream lifestyle. Today's question comes from Lisa Simone Brownlee, and Lisa asks us, when is the right time to hire interns into your private practice, and how do you determine their rate? Great question.
Very good question. And before we dive into that, we wanted to thank TherapyNotes for sponsoring this series. Thank you so much for being such an amazing EHR platform. Really comprehensive. If you guys want to try them out, you can get 2 months for free. Head over to therapynotes.com and use the code PPS as in Private Practice Startup.
And if this is the first time you're joining us, we are Kate and Kate, and we are super crazy bonkers passionate about helping therapists brand themselves and grow their dream practice. So let's head on to today's question. So Kate and I actually have some questions for you as we think about two different types of business models related to this question. So there is the employee model, and then there's more of a kind of independent contractor or renter model, or where everyone is their own incorporation. So
it's really going to depend on where you live as well, because there's some legalities. In some states like California, you actually can't have independent contractors. They have to be employees. It's really important to make sure you know what the state laws and rules are where you're located, where you're setting up your group practice. And it's also really good to think this through, because this is a very big decision to decide on your business model and to think about the type of group practice that you want to have and how you want that practice to live forward for years and years to come. Because once you have your business model, certainly you could change it down the road if you needed to, but it's best to start from the get-go of really having that plan and solid place.
Right. And so really knowing what your long-term goal is a really great place to start, One of the things that we find, and I know that initially when you actually started your group practice and when I thought about doing a group practice, is I really wanted to give back to interns and give them the opportunity. Sometimes that comes with difficulty. So if you're going with the group practice model in regards to where everyone's incorporated and they're paying more of a rent, the difficulty is a lot of times, whether it's an intern or someone starting a new business, is they don't really have those business and marketing skills that's going to keep them full. So you really need to think about that and look at your own costs. And if you still want to go that route, that's great. What is it that you're going to do to help them market, or how are you going to set certain standards so your rent is covered? Those are things that you would need to think about.
Yeah, for me, when I was choosing my group practice model, I went with a more real estate model with having independent contractors, because I didn't want to have the liability of having employees. I also didn't want to do a fee split situation. I wanted to keep things very clean cut and ensure that each person that I was bringing on to the into the practice as an independent contractor, that they had their own independent practice, meaning they were incorporated, they have their malpractice insurance, and they're responsible to market their own niche and practice specialization. However, it's still very much a team environment and culture that we have at our practice, Bayview Therapy. And we do a lot of coaching and mentoring, and there's a lot of support focused on the building a brand and marketing for their own individual practices. It's kind of like a both and for us. So I can speak from my own experience just of having that business model. And then there's also a lot of practices that go with the employee model, and that's something that really works for them.
And some of the things that you'd have to consider in that are all of your expenses, all of your time, how much money are you putting into marketing, how much money do you have to pay on lease and other things. And also too, Kate and I really talk about living that dream lifestyle. So when you think about, are you going to want to be at the office? How many hours or weeks of vacation do you want to take? And really working out those numbers, and that will help you determine a better rate. Of course, doing your market research and seeing what else is around is always helpful. So I think we've given you a lot to think about.
And then other questions as well, thinking about, are you going to pay your your employees who are registered intern or pre-licensed, are you going to pay them a lower rate? Are you going to charge a lower rate for their services? Are you going to pay your licensed clinicians a higher rate? There's just so many decisions there. And there's actually a lot of really great resources out there now for looking at a group practice and the business models and what it takes to really grow one successfully. We would recommend checking out the Group Practice Exchange. Maureen Wehrbeck does a great job there, and Casey Truffaut also has a program on how to transition from a independent contractor business model for a group practice into employee model, because that's a big transition. And again, California has gone through this big revamp. Some other states might be right behind them. So definitely check out those resources. And
it's always good really to check with a business law attorney, a labor law attorney in your state. You really want to make sure all those things are checked off as well. So if we haven't completely overwhelmed you or exhausted you, we hope we gave you a lot of great questions to really think through and consider. So we wanted to thank you for sharing that question with us.
Yes, and if you have additional questions, definitely look for the Tuesday feed in our Facebook group that asks for the Ask Us question. So you post your question there and we will be happy to answer you in that thread, and then maybe you'll even make it on video with your question. We'll tag you in it. And if you have more marketing needs, that's really our passion in the area that we're specialized in. We have our signature marketing e-course, and you can find out more information about that at the privatepracticestartup.com.
Have an awesome and inspired day, everybody. And remember, you got this.